Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on August 23rd, 2021 at approximately 1:44 p.m. PST. Well, I suspect at this point it's time to really buckle down and get things sorted around. It seems to work for me when I put things together on paper here while I'm online. It makes me that much more inclined to get things done. Like I said, I am not perfect. Okay, I do have a tendency of procrastinating, but I find a lot of the time when I'm doing these journals, it's almost when I'm doing this journey, it's often a question of talking to myself. Okay, in other words, walk you through the way I do my decision making. So, with that in mind, where the heck are we? Over here. Okay, we are sitting right now. I've mentioned that I'm making headway. So one of the things I'm going to be doing today, as soon as I get done this journey, the first thing I'm going to tangle with is the final edit on chapter 21 of the return of the end of an epoch. As we can tell, my brain is not working entirely well. Okay, but that's the first thing. It's sitting right here because I've got to get that second chapter ahead in order to do the final edit properly. I like being two chapters ahead when I go to do my final edit. Now there are, I think, 35 chapters at this point. So let's just double check that. Scroll up here, and what do we got? 34 chapters. Yeah, 35 chapters. I am on to the final expansion on chapter 21. So as you can see, we are making headway. Okay, as soon as I'm done with 35 chapters, because I stay 2 chapters ahead for doing final edit, so I can get other things done. So that'll be the first thing I deal with. Okay, now I've got a little bit of tidying up down back I've got to do, so I'll deal with that. I've got this wonderful little, and you can just, I think, nope, it's behind that chair. So, we turn the chair, and now you can see it. That little thing right there on the windowsill. Yeah, that'll help. Way back over here. Let's see if I can get. I've got my finger pointing pretty much at it. Right there. That happens to be a plant, and if I don't get it watered, the poor thing will die. Now, I've mentioned before that I communicate with animals, I communicate with plants. Okay, which sounds a little weird, but give it a shot. Talk to your plants. You'll find they grow much better, that they survive much better, they're a lot healthier. This is something that has been scientifically tested, by the way. Okay, so that happens to be, you can't see it very well. Okay, simply because of the light. I'm sure you've seen it before, but that would be Heidi. Okay, now the first time I spoke to a plant, and unfortunately when I had the stroke a couple of years ago, my kids were more concerned about the fact that wasn't unfortunate, by the way. My kids were more concerned about the fact that I had the stroke than they were about watering the plants. So the first plant that really spoke to me loud and clear a couple of years back was something called a croton. Now this sounds completely whacked, okay, but he told me his name was Gordon. Okay, and he survived for almost, well, I guess from 210 to 218. So he lasted 8 years without a problem. Except for one thing, he had a rather heavy addiction to coffee. And yes, I do mean literally. I'd come into the room, and the first thing he'd say is, "Where's my coffee?" And it's like, pardon? Okay, so when I get done this, that was just a sidetrack there for you. So I'm going to be doing the editing here, the expansion on chapter 21. Once I've done that, then I will take that. I've got to get horoscopes set up and what have you. But much more importantly, Okay, I've got these little figures that I'll be adding to. I'm tying this one here I'll be able to tie off, because all I've got left really is I've got to tie and tidy up the arms a little. Right, that one's set to go, so it'll be finished. This one here I made a mistake, didn't realize I actually got him as far as I did. So I'll be correcting that and turning it back to white. Okay, these are just little things that I'm dealing with to tie off. Okay, and of course, I don't know, I've got a whole pile of them up here. I think this one I can probably finish. This one I'll be able to tie off and get it out of the way. So there's the first three there that I'm going to tie off today, because there's not much to them. But it's time to get them racked off as well. And like I said, when you're looking at changing the way your life is going, pick something you're not content with, that you feel still requires getting finished. Okay. So from that end, once you pick something, write it down. Make sure that you keep your tasks down to 15-minute to half-hour tasks. That way you can make sure that you can get them accomplished, and it feels like you've got something done. Now, I did something today that I probably shouldn't have, but so far, because of the fact that I've been working at getting my weight under control, getting my health back in order. Okay, today I've managed to walk 3.5 kilometers. Okay, which boils down to around about the 2.5 miles. I think that's about what it works out to. Okay, but that being said, okay, pick a goal that you desire to attain. Okay, now don't do what I have a tendency of doing, and that's I keep pushing myself too far. Like I said, I walked 3.5 kilometers today, 2.5 miles, left the cane at home, which is a great thing in as much as I managed to do it. But unfortunately, I wore myself out, so I ended up grabbing another little bit of sleep. So now I've got a whole pile of things I haven't gotten accomplished yet. Okay, but once I get done the painting, then I've got this stuff with finances that I've got to get dealt with. Get them dealt with, and I think that's bills. Yep, that's bills that have to be filed. And I'm pretty certain everybody's got bills that have to be dealt with. Oh, did I forget to take that in? That's pretty bad. I've got a check sitting here that came to me from a weird place. Came to me from ICBC, which is my insurance company. They sent me money, so I've got to get that into the bank. Now, I can't get it into the bank until tomorrow at this point, but that's okay. So, I'll get all that paperwork filed, sorted around, and done with. Okay. But you write these things down, which is what I've done here. I've got a few more things on my list here, but that's okay. Once you start doing that, you'll find that you get things reorganized in your own home a little more effectively. And the more smoothly the energy in your own house runs, I'll tell you, your stress level will collapse. In all likelihood, I mean, technically, I cannot say it will. Well, literally, I can't say it will. Some of you have a tendency of holding on to things and stressing yourself out about stuff that you've got absolutely no control over. Okay, Lord knows I've done that a lot myself. But here's the thing, and this is why I tell people I'm not perfect by any functional stretch. Okay, I'm really not. But the tools that I do offer are the ones that I'm personally using. Now, here's the thing. Okay, when we start talking about dealing with people outside, okay, you get your home, and I'm starting with my work area. Okay, my work area actually has come together quite nicely. Okay, I'm still not perfect with it by any stretch, but is it coming together? Am I staying on top of things? Yeah, absolutely I am. Net result, I'm making headway the way I desire to make it. Okay. Now, when we take a look at karmic law, before I go any further, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to our channel because there's a massive message here. And the major message I return to bring back to the people of this reality is this. Very simply put, working together, we can make this a better world for most people. Okay. I've been dealing with consulting people on personal levels, on personal situations, business situations, and dealing with UFOs, alien abductions, that sort of thing. My life couldn't get much stranger, I don't think. Okay, and it's really debatable whether I do think. But, the reality is I'm not about to try and prove what I've been through. Okay, I was asked one day why people should believe me. And the reality of it is, don't. Okay, am I going to lie to you? No. So what I'll tell you is this. Anything you question, any of the tools I offer you, test them yourself. Don't take my word for it that they work. Okay, but just to give you an idea, in my opinion, 90 to 95% of the people out there are decent people. They genuinely want the world to run. They genuinely desire the world to run nicely for people to get along. But we are being pumped full of garbage, and I call it garbage because we are being pumped full of this idea of fear this, fear that, fear everything else. Okay, and there is so much being pumped out there. We can start way back, as far back as you desire. Okay, we can go back to 2,000 years ago. Everybody was. It wasn't the same world from a technological standpoint, but people were still being taught to fear virtually everything. Okay, people still saw themselves as better than their neighbor, no matter who told them what. Now, it's been tried over the centuries, telling people that you're all equally valuable. This does not mean you're worth the same dollar value. Okay. But from a spiritual standpoint, from an individual standpoint, you're all of equal value. You all have your own strength. You all have your own weaknesses. I'm the same way. I am not perfect. Lord knows I've been way too direct for some people's liking. But like I keep telling people, I make everybody I meet happy. Some people I make happy by my arriving. Most of them I make happy by leaving. Okay, and I don't make any bones about it. I am the way I am. Okay, when I was growing up, and I felt that I had to apologize, that I was being told I had to apologize for something I didn't feel that I required apologizing for, I found a very simple way of doing it. Okay, I'd look at the person, and I'd go, please accept my most insincere apology to date. Okay, now, I was talking to one person, I thought I was being blunt. I was talking to one person that had a similar problem. They did not feel that they should have to apologize for certain things. In one particular case, their brother, like they were just a child at the time. I found out about this when they were an adult. They were just a child, and their brother had done something really, really off kilter. And this individual told their brother, they called them stupid. Okay. Now, it's not a good idea to call somebody stupid anyway. Okay. But this person did, and the parent said, you have to apologize to your brother. So what did this person do? They looked at their brother and went, I'm sorry you're so stupid. Now, that was not what the parent really considered an apology, and it didn't go well. Okay. The thing is, I make no bones about it. People ask me to apologize. I'm like, I'm not sorry, therefore I'm not going to apologize. I just will not bother doing it anymore. There's a lot of people, like, I still will take a look at an incoming phone call. And for those of you that are striving to make contact with me, it's not like I hide my phone number. But if I don't recognize the phone number, I don't answer it. So, that being said, if you're striving to connect with me, absolutely text me first. It's a cell phone number that's out there. Text me first, because the odds are, if I don't know the phone number, I'm not answering. Okay, I get way too many scam calls. Way too many times do I get people phoning up and pushing for things. I've got one individual that is literally phoning me on a daily basis to get me to sign up for this thing. And I don't even know entirely what it is. But he phones me up and he says, look, well, texted me really. And he explained who he was. That was fine. And he goes, you've got to log in for this. You've got to sign up for this money. Well, considering we hadn't heard of it, we said, look, we don't know anything about it. So he says, I'll send you a link and just tap the link. And, it's all above board. I've made X number of dollars, etc., etc. Well, first and foremost, he didn't send the link. Second of all, not 30 seconds later, he texted me again to ask whether or not I had sent the link. Well, after I told him I hadn't sent it, I didn't bother telling him the link didn't show up. But after I told him I wasn't ever going to hit the link because I was not going to trust it, right, he immediately asked if I'd sent the link again and tried telling me, he literally writes me back and he goes, look, you can trust me. We've already talked. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. And now I just ignore the calls. Okay. The reason being, there are some pretty solid scams out there. There's a lot of people out there trying it. One thing I have found is anybody that sends me something that says, link, tap this link, especially on the internet. I got an email telling me that my PayPal account was off kilter. Now, I'll tell you this, just for your own edification. Okay. Somebody sends you an email telling you something like that, check the email address of the email that's coming to you. Because I'll tell you, the one that came in regarding PayPal, it came to me and I looked at the email address. I can't even begin to think of what it was. What I do know was it didn't come from PayPal. Okay, so be very cautious out there. Okay, but here's the thing. When you're striving to get your own world running properly, okay, alter the direction the energy is going in. You cannot destroy the energy. You cannot eliminate it. And frankly, you cannot create it. But you can alter it and you can redirect it. Much like trying to irrigate a farmland. If there's a river running nearby, you redirect the water to get into the farmland, and now you can actually farm. Okay, same thing applies with energy. Take a look at the way your energy is going, at where it's running, and alter the direction it's going. By doing that, you can get your life running properly again. But it's up to you to do the work. Now, the tools I offer are the same ones that I personally use. Okay, now I'm not about to tell you that the methods that I use are absolutely the best on the market. I'll simply tell you they are the ones that I personally use and that personally work for me. Okay, if you're having struggles moving forward and you haven't given the methods that I've laid out of an option or you haven't given them a try yourself, okay, don't jump to the conclusion that they won't work. They may not, but this is why I say do your own research, check your own answers. Okay, the fact that they work for me doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to work for you. Okay, but if you haven't given them a shot, okay, this is why, I think it's this book. Yes, this one here. It's a little booklet that I wrote, and it literally says, believe in yourself and follow your dreams. This is a bare bones booklet on the simple techniques of taking your life and changing it for what you desire. Now, way back, I went through that book one chapter at a time over a period of days. Okay, and we're talking, I think I did that one way back in March. But what I am finding is if you take a look at the way your world is working, you make minor adjustments. You don't have to know where your world is heading. You don't have to know what it's going to look like in 10 years. Okay, what you have to know is what you're not content with. I've got this book and this chapter written right here. Well, actually, in all fairness, I finished writing the book. I'm just doing the expansion on it. Okay, but unless I do the work and go through it, I'm not going to get it finished. Okay, and that for me that's one of the big goals that I've got. That's where this fine little book here come in. Okay, because that is the first of the 12 novels. That's what this one's the sequel to. And again, it really boils down to telling myself that here's the steps to follow. Okay, now one of the biggest challenges is picking a direction that you desire to go and then staying on course. Okay, that's where it can be a challenge. Now, the thing is, what I'm finding with a lot of things is I talk to what I call so-called professionals. Okay, that say they say they've got these experiences or they've got this knowledge, and yet they're doing everything that goes against it. Okay, I've talked to people. I remember years ago, I dealt with a client that was having trouble with their business. Long story short, they asked me to come into their business and take a look at what was going on with it because they were having trouble. So I walked through the door and I stopped as soon as I got in the door. I asked a couple of questions and laid out a whole pile of shift that had to be done. And she turned around, this businesswoman turns around and goes, "Well, why didn't my marketing consultant tell me this already?" I looked at her and I went, "You've got a marketing consultant?" And she goes, "Yeah, I've had him for 6 months." I says, "Are you still paying him?" And she goes, "Well, yeah." I said, "That's why he hasn't told you anything." Right. As it turned out, and this guy claimed to be a marketing consultant, he claimed to know what he was doing, but he had not given the basic things, such as, like, when I first went into the business, the first question I asked, because it was a woodworking business, she did both, she sold knickknacks and she refinished furniture. Okay, but I walked through the door and my first question was, "What's your primary focus here?" And she goes, "What do you mean?" I says, "Well, I'm looking here and I've got all kinds of stuff going on, but I cannot tell which is your primary." Right. You know, which one of these two aspects in every business, you've got to have an idea of where your focal point is. Okay. If you're, for instance, a body shop that does artwork, that also does artwork or does paint jobs and what have you, they've got two aspects of the business right off the bat. Okay, they've got body work and they've got their painting. Now, obviously, if you're doing the painting, you're going to have to do the body work anyway. But you've got to decide, is your focus on the mechanical side, on the bodywork side, or is your focus on the art? If your focus is on the art, then make sure that your business, as people walk in, realize that's what it's for. Okay. Now, a real good body painter for autos, I don't know what the term is. Last thing I am is a mechanic. Okay, but if you're working in that field, the first thing when somebody walks into your business is they've got to know what your business is. Okay, am I a consultant? Absolutely, I have been for 48 years. Okay, but at this point, my office is set up for the purpose of writing. Okay. Do I paint these little figures? You bet. Okay. But a lot of the time, these little figures are used for either my writing to give me an idea of what I'm working with, or they're used for or they are used for gaming, which is my other hobby. Okay, as in D&D, playing Dungeons and Dragons, playing Aftermath, that sort of thing. Now, truth be told, I don't actually play Aftermath right now. I don't have somebody to play it with, but I do play. We've just started a new campaign in something called Starfinder, which, as near as I can understand, basically boils down to Dungeons and Dragons in outer space. Works great. It's a role-playing game. We still play it on the table. Okay, but it gives me a way to get away from what passes for reality. I still have to pay my bills. I still have to do my work, this sort of thing. Okay, but as I had a conversation with somebody just yesterday, might have been today, but it's very simple. There are 4 aspects of your life that have to be in balance. Now, I encourage you to balance them over the course of the week. Okay, but those 4 aspects are your private time, the stuff you do on your own for yourself. That's where painting these figures comes in. Okay, this is stuff I do on my own. It doesn't overlap with other people. I still use the figures. But the first section is for yourself. The second section is your interpersonal. That includes family, friends, that special someone, your co-workers, stuff you go out, like if you go out, for instance, for a night, and you're going out to socialize, you get together with a bunch of friends. It falls into that. Then you've got your work. Now, work can either be work or school, your work or your education. Education is what leads to your ability to do your work. Okay, that's 3 sections. The 4th one is the one most people forget about, and that's sleep. Okay, but if you work those out to an average of 6 hours a day, okay, one quarter of the week of the day, okay, but you average out, you're looking at 42 hours a week in each field. Now, some of it will overlap, but the reason I say balance it over the week is because most people's workday does not work out to a 6-hour workday. It works out to an 8 to 10 hour workday. So balance it out. You take 2 days off, it'll work out. Even if you run your own business, pick 2 days out of the week, or especially if you do. If you run your own business, pick 2 days out of the week. It doesn't matter which 2 days. Okay. Pick them out back to back and don't work those days. Okay. Matter of fact, I think I'll cover that tomorrow in more detail because we're out of time here. I keep these to the half-hour mark. So before I do that, what I'm going to do here is just make a note for myself for tomorrow, and I will go into greater detail with that. But until then, until tomorrow when we talk again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.